BookTube, it's Janet, and I'm just going to catch you up with some of the books that I've been reading recently. As I've said previously, I'm loving the audiobooks at the moment that I'm getting through, and I'm continuing on with the Poldark series. I'm coming to the end now, but if for this segment, the ones that I've read are The Miller's Dance, The Loving Cup and The Twisted Sword, and it's taken me up right to the end of the series. In fact, at the moment, I'm currently coming to the end of the final book, and I don't know what I'm going to do when they're finished, because they've been my constant companions to and from work for weeks now. And Oliver J. Hembrough, who is the narrator, he has the best narration voice. He's so good. He does the fantastic Cornish accents. He's just absolutely brilliant, and I'm really going to miss him. And I don't know, I think I might go through a little bit of, you know, when you go through that slump kind of where you think after you finish something like that, and I feel like I might be betraying him if I get involved with another narrator, but we'll see. So much so that I have actually had a look at what other books he narrates and downloaded those. So that's how it goes. So yes, so continuing to love this series, absolutely brilliant. Can't recommend, if you're into historical fiction, the Poldark series is fantastic. Every book is great. There's not a dud among them. I've also read The Silent Companions by Laura Purcell, and this is a ghost story, and it's set in Victorian England in a gothic, falling down, spooky mansion, and it follows the main character who is newly widowed and pregnant. So she married the heir to this house. He died, so she's heading back to the family homestead. She's never been there before to have the funeral, and she's gonna be living there. There's a creepy atmosphere as you're heading towards it. It's dark, it's rainy, they get stuck in the mud, the villagers are all a bit weird, and it doesn't get any better as you get to the house. The house has obviously been quite neglected for some time, but it does have servants, but only a few servants, because apparently the people from the village won't work there. There's a big warning sign. And you see the story through the protagonist's eyes, but the history of the house and the people who lived there and built it. And those original people were hosting the king on his progress. And so they obviously, when things like that happened, they used to have to spend an awful lot of money to make entertainment, make the house fantastic. And so the mistress of the house was trying to get things to amuse people, so she goes to an antique shop and she finds these things called the Silent Companions, and basically these are wooden sculpture, life-size effigies of people, so you know that they're actually painted to look like people, and she placed them around the house to, you know, just cause a curio or to give people a bit of a spook. So these Silent Companions are still in the house, and they start to cause a little bit of havoc, and they seem to move around and pop up when you least expect it, and there doesn't seem to be a way of getting rid of them, and quite a lot of unpleasant things happen. And so you all see how that links with the past and the family that originally built the house. It was quite dark, it was quite spooky, I did enjoy it. It didn't scare the bejesus out of me, but I think I am quite hard to scare. But yeah, if you like a dark gothic horror, I recommend that one. The next book I read was Transcription by Kate Atkinson. I saw Kate read a passage from this book when I went to the Cheltenham Literary Festival with Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books, my first ever literary festival. Absolutely loved it, and she read it so well that we both thought, yeah, we really want to get that book and read it. It's set throughout the Second World War, and then just about 10 years after it, and you follow the main character who is working in a typing pool basically, but she's working for the security services and ends up getting sucked in to become a spy. You follow her life after that, where she's now working for the BBC. It is quite funny in places. Kate is quite a witty author, but I don't feel it lived up to my expectations. It was one of those books where I wasn't always wanting to pick it up to see how the story moved along. So it was interesting, it was okay. I found the end a little bit confusing. It didn't quite make a lot of sense to me, whether that's just me being a bit thick, but it just all seemed to be a little bit rushed at the end, and a little bit like, I'm not sure where that came from, and it didn't seem like the rest of the story was leading up to that, so it just felt a bit odd. So it was okay. I also have read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. Now, I bought this book when it came out, knowing that it was probably going to be a book that I'd love, and for some reason I just hadn't picked it up, and I've seen so many people review it on BookTube and saying how much they absolutely loved it. It's got fantastic ratings on Goodreads and Amazon and wherever you go, but for some reason I just hadn't picked it up, and I thought to myself, do you know what? get it bloody read. And I'm so glad I did. I loved this book. It was a 5-star read. Absolutely fell in love with Eleanor, loved all the characters. It deals with mental health, it deals with, you know, there are triggers about child abuse, how that can have a knock-on effect on you as an adult, and about how one encounter that Eleanor has, she's a very lonely person, she has a very rigid routine, she is obviously quite troubled, and one chance encounter starts to change things, and she starts to have contact with other people, and she comes out of her shell and she starts to gain confidence in herself, and it's just an absolute delight. Such a fantastic book, so well written. I had a little problem with the ending, but other than that it was, yeah, still 5 stars. It didn't take away from the 5 stars, but I just found the ending a little bit odd. But other than that, if you haven't read it yet, you must read it. Don't be like me. Don't leave it on the shelves for so long. Just pick it up and read it. I've also read My Sister the Serial Killer, and this is by Onyinkan Braithwaite, and she's a Nigerian author, and it's set in Nigeria, and I think this book has just been longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction. It's an unusual book. I really liked reading about Nigeria and getting that perspective about how life is different. And for our protagonist, basically, she works as a chief nurse in a hospital, and her sister tends to be the spoilt one of the family. She always gets what she wants. She's quite manipulative. She's very much the princess of the family, and they are quite wealthy. But you start to get a bit of a backstory about the father, who is now dead. You start to see that he was a bit of a tyrant, quite abusive, and I'm not saying that this potentially is the reason for the sister, because it's not there's no surprises. The sister is the serial killer, it says it in the title. But you start to understand some of the dynamic and the dark past that this family have had. And obviously the sister, who's the nurse, loves her serial killing sister, so she tends to be the one that cleans up all the mess. And so it's a good story. I enjoyed it. It's quite a short book, and so I only gave it 3.5 stars, and I think it was because I didn't particularly like any of the characters. I didn't sort of feel engaged with them. I didn't really care what happened to them, and for me, for a book to elevate itself to 4 and 5 stars, I really have to be invested in those characters. But it's well worth a read. It's fantastic to see a slice of life in Nigeria. You feel the heat, you feel the chaos, you feel how people with money live very different to other people. So yeah, it was definitely well worth a read. The next book I read is Sidney Chambers and The Shadow of Death, and this is the first of the 6 Sidney Chambers novels, and this is currently on TV as Grantchester. It's not a complete novel. What it is like long short stories, so each sort of chapter is a different case that Sidney gets to investigate, and Sidney is a priest. Obviously people confide in him, and because of those confidences he often finds that there's a crime to be investigated. It's a very nice cosy crime. I really enjoyed them. They're a great sort of light read. Loved all the characters. I'll definitely carry on with the series. They're just brilliant books just to dip in and out of, and just to enjoy that sort of light Agatha Christie-esque feel. And the final book I need to tell you about is In at the Deep End, and this is by Kate Davis. This is contemporary fiction. It's lesbian fiction. It's a girl who realises that she's gay, starts to explore her sexuality by having relationships with women, but as the title says, it's in at the deep end. She probably goes to the extreme lesbian society where there are sex parties, there's SM, you're not allowed to say S&M, SM. It is quite rude, so if you are not into that kind of thing, I wouldn't advise you read it, because it doesn't hold back. There's lots of swearing and it is quite filthy, but there are bits where that will make you laugh out loud. The problem with it for me was that she gets into a toxic relationship. I got annoyed with her. It was just like, are you so stupid that you cannot see what's going on here, that you're being controlled, that there is domestic abuse going on, and obviously she keeps going back for more and more and more. And it just bothered me. In the end, I just started to lose patience with her and just, you know, I just slap her and say, get a grip, girl. So it wasn't a 5-star because of that. But it is a fun read. It is a filthy romp, if that's what you like. I learned a lot. If that's your kind of thing, go for it. But like I say, she did bloody annoy me. But haven't we all been there? So that's what I've been reading lately. Let's have a chat in the comments down below. And I'll see you all soon, BookTube. Keep reading. Bye!